Hey there. Let's talk about one of the biggest, most stressful questions you'll probably ever face. Should you buy a house? We're going to cut through all that confusing noise and give you a simple framework to find the right answer specifically for you.
All right, so let's just jump right in. This is the question, right? It's probably haunting millions of people. It's this massive financial decision, and it feels like the entire internet is just shouting at you with all this conflicting advice. It makes it almost impossible to think straight. I mean, you see headlines like this every single day. Rates are soaring. These alerts, they're designed to do one thing: trigger that fear of missing out, to create this sense of panic and urgency.
But then, literally the next article you click on, you see this: prices are dropping. So which one is it? Are you supposed to be losing money because of rates or gaining it because of prices? It is just genuinely confusing.
And of course, you get this one, the classic fear-based message: buy now or miss out forever. This kind of stuff is just designed to make you act on pure emotion, not on logic. It's stressful and, let's be honest, not helpful at all.
Okay, so we're going to do something radical. We're going to ignore all of that. Forget the predictions, forget the noise. The only thing that actually matters is your personal situation. So let's build a solution that's just for you, right here, right now.
And how are we going to do that? With this, a simple but honestly an incredibly powerful framework. We're going to boil this whole mess down to 5 straightforward questions. And they're all about your life, your finances, and your goals. Nothing else.
These are what we're calling the 5 litmus tests. We're going to walk through every single one, and I promise, by the end of this, you won't even need to look at those crazy headlines because you'll have your own clear answer. An answer that's based on what's actually best for you.
All right, question number 1. And this might be the most important one of all. It has nothing to do with interest rates or trying to time the market. It's all about your timing. How long do you actually plan to stay in this house? And what's so cool about this is just how clear the financial logic is. Look, if you're staying for less than 2 years, just rent. Seriously, the closing costs and agent fees you pay when you buy and when you sell will pretty much guarantee you lose money. Now, that 5 to 7 year mark, that's the sweet spot. That's your typical break-even point where building equity finally starts to beat out those initial costs. And if you're staying longer than 7 years, oh yeah, the math is overwhelmingly in favor of buying.
Okay, next up, the affordability reality check. Now, this sounds super obvious, but this is where so many people get into trouble. You cannot just look at the mortgage payment the bank says you can get. No. We have to look at the total cost of owning that home every single month.
So let's use a real-world example to see how this actually works. We'll take a $350,000 home. That's a pretty common price point in a lot of places.
Okay, so the mortgage payment itself might be around $2,200, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. You've got to add property taxes, homeowners insurance, then, and this is the big one people always forget, you have to budget for maintenance and repairs. And if you've got an HOA, well, you got to tack that on too. See how all these costs just stack up?
And just like that, that $2,200 mortgage just ballooned into a total monthly housing cost of over $3,000. That is a massive difference, and that is the number you really need to be focused on.
So, what does that total cost actually mean for how much you need to earn? Well, a really good rule of thumb is that your housing shouldn't be more than about 30% of your gross income. So as you can see, for this home, you'd need a household income of at least $132,000 a year just to afford it comfortably, without being totally stressed out. Okay, now let's get into the more personal side of this whole decision. We're going to look at 2 really critical things: how stable your income is and what's really truly motivating you to buy a house in the first place. This one is super simple, but it's absolutely vital. Just be honest with yourself. Are you on the left side here? Stable job, been there for a while, predictable income? Or are you on the right side? Lots of recent changes, maybe some uncertainty on the horizon. Look, if you're on the left, that's a green light. But if you're on the right, it is so much wiser to just wait until things settle down a bit. And now, it's time for the gut check. Why are you really doing this? Are you buying because you genuinely need a home for your family, a place to put down roots, and you want to build wealth for the long haul? Or are you buying because you're scared rates will go up, that classic FOMO, or because it just feels like everyone else is doing it? You got to be really honest here. The healthy reasons are on the left, the emotional pressure is on the right. All right, let's put this all together. We've talked about your timeline, we've looked at the true cost, and we've checked in on your personal stability.
Now, let's get down to the brass tacks and run the hard numbers, a side-by-side comparison of buying versus renting over 5 years.
Now, at first glance, renting definitely looks cheaper, right? Your total cash out of pocket over 5 years is less. But that is not the whole story, not even close. See, as a homeowner, your property is an asset. It's gaining value. You're building equity with every single mortgage payment. And you get tax benefits. These are all huge financial wins that a renter, well, they just never see.
And this is the result. When you add up all the good stuff about buying, the appreciation, the equity, the tax breaks, and you subtract out the costs, the buyer in this scenario comes out ahead by almost $140,000. That's after just 5 years. That is the incredible power of owning the asset.
So here it is, your own personal decision tree. If you can honestly, genuinely say yes to staying put for 5+ years, yes to affordability, yes to a stable income, yes to having an emergency fund, and yes to buying for the right reasons, well then the framework gives you a super clear, logical answer. All that market noise just fades into the background, and your own situation is what lights the path forward.
But wait, there's one last big fear that everybody has. What if I buy now and then next year interest rates totally drop? Did I just make a massive mistake? The answer is absolutely not. And this is where your financial safety net comes into play.
See, you are not locked into today's interest rate for 30 years. That's a myth. If rates fall, you have this incredibly powerful tool called refinancing. Just look at this. Dropping your rate by a little over 1% could save you hundreds of dollars every single month. That adds up to thousands and thousands of dollars a year.
And that really brings us to the final, most important takeaway here. Stop trying to predict the market. It's a losing game. Instead, focus on what you can control, your own situation. If your personal finances are solid and your timeline is right, then you have a clear path forward. Remember this, you can always refinance a rate, but you can never, ever get back the years of equity you could have been building while you were sitting on the sidelines waiting.